93.3 CFMU, back listening to I Heart Hamilton, the one year anniversary episode of I Heart Hamilton. Before the break, you heard Ken Park with Car Commercial off his album You Think About It Too Much, and Illitree with Runaways, and you can see again both of those acts next Thursday at the Baltimore House as part of New Hands residency, and it's also Illitree's EP release, which is huge. So definitely, and I'm DJing too, so that's reason enough right there. Come on. So as I said, we got Two Juliets on the show right now, Meghan and Franny. Hey.
Hi.
Hi. We've been enjoying the tunes off the air.
Oh yeah,
banging music,
getting some dance moves in. Yeah.
So let's give the info so people know about your show coming up. You're bringing it back to Yuk Yuk's on December 4th. It's XOXO, the relationship show, and that's at Yuk Yuk's, which is just above Anchor Bar, and it's $10, and special guest Rebecca Perry. And I've got a little blurb here about the show if people don't know. XOXO, the relationship show, is a comedy cabaret exploring the highs and lows of dating in the modern world. It's a hybrid of sketch comedy, theater, music, and it was the winner of the People's Choice Award at the 2014 SpringWorks Festival in Stratford. And you had sold-out audiences here at the Hamilton Fringe Festival, and great reviews, myself included. Thank you. And it premiered originally as a 25-minute version at Hamilton Fringe in 2013, and now you've expanded it into the 60-minute. So it's good to have you back at Fringe this year.
We were really excited to be back this year.
It was really nice coming back with a full-length show this year and being able to experience a bigger venue and more seating capacity was nice. So it was cool.
Yeah, we were in Mills Hardware, which was a new venue this year, and that space is great. It was really fun to be one of the first shows that got to figure out how that space works, and it looked beautiful, and our audiences were like, we love the show, but did you see those rafters? Yeah, we know.
Very modern.
Yeah, it was
very hip.
It's great. So maybe let's recap a bit how you guys first met and came together to form Two Juliets.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Do you want to start?
Yeah, okay, so I'm Franny talking right now, because we also sound a lot alike, I think. My mom's accused us of that.
Yeah.
But, so Meghan and I met when we were we went to Humber College for the theater program there, and we worked together on a project that we had a lot of fun doing. Basically, it was, you have 15 minutes to write a show, you have to source all the material from, existing things that already are in the world, and then you completely rehearse it on your own, structure it on your own, just go away into a room and come back in 2 months and show everyone what you did. And we just had a blast. We wrote this thing, we called it Merge, and it was all about relationships coming together, and we basically made a big word map, and we were what are different things that can merge, life and death, cooking, all.
There's a lot of things that can merge.
Yeah, we read many dictionaries about it. And so that show was just a lot of fun, and it turned out, I think, funnier than we were sort of expecting, and within the context of our class, it was one of the only comedy pieces.
Right.
And when people came up to us after, they were like, that was really good. And we're like, oh, really?
Yeah, they're like, you're really funny. And we're like, oh, thanks.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was fun. But what was so neat about it was that when we were making those word maps and forming our piece, a lot of the stuff that we ended up talking about was dating and relationships, which is actually what our show turned into. So, so that's sort of where the inspiration started for our show too. But so our theater company formed and our show formed almost at the same time. The idea, anyway. The idea.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and talking about the show, I guess ideas, like you said, led into what would be XOXO, which is really cool. And I was going to ask what the process was like, and I've seen it twice now, so this will be the third time in December seeing it, and I feel like even the second time, I got even more out of it and appreciated all the little things, because there's so much to take in, all the transitions between the scenes, and I always think, how did you even start with something like that? But I guess a lot of improvising, and it just seems like such a daunting thing to put together.
I can understand, because the way that we describe the show as a comedy cabaret, we sort of invented that name for it, because it's not quite sketch comedy. It's definitely not a play. It's many different little scenes songs, songs, original songs we wrote, and parodies of pop songs and stuff.
Which is what makes it so fun, because when we're writing, we can just be like, oh, I think a song would be fun here, and then it's not like we have to stick to a script. Really, we can write around whatever song we want. And it's really a fun way to go about doing things. And I think people are not used to seeing something like this. So when they see something like this, it sort of sticks out in their mind as oh, it's something different that I haven't seen, and something fun. The audience always has fun when they come to see it.
Yeah. And it is something that we've heard from people who've seen it more than once, that the more that they've seen it, they genuinely have enjoyed it more. And there's moments that are like, oh, this is that part that I really like, or like, oh, this is that part that, like, what? How does this work again? And they're like, oh yeah. So it is something that, because it has so many different parts to it, you can see it more than once, and it doesn't feel old. And it is something that we try and keep, like, it's a scripted show mostly, but there is room for us to sort of play off the audience. So if people are really, like, digging one song or, like, one scene, we can read each other really well and know, like, oh, we can tell that this scene's gonna, like, be the 5-minute, not the 3-minute tonight. Like, we can kind of judge that with each other, which is fun because then people get they almost get a little bit of a different show every time they see it.
I was gonna say, no show would really be the same because of that nature of spontaneity of the live performance.
Exactly. And I think also because, a lot of when we were writing the show, even though it is scripted, as Franny said, for the most part, a lot of the stories and monologues and songs that we wrote are personal or based off of personal experiences, or we wrote about stuff that if we felt was too personal, we would, like, give to each other to write a new take on. So it was like a reimagined something that we could still relate to. And I think by doing that and by having room in the script to improvise as well, if we can sense, we know each other so well that if we're doing the show and we're doing a scene that we know is, the whole show is personal, sort of, but we're doing a scene that we have the gist of, we can sort of play off of it, and if we sense it going in a different direction, we can sort of steer it around again, and it's fun.
Yeah. And what kind of reaction did you get from, because you're saying it's so personal, do you get people coming up who's like, oh, I related to this part so much, or just like...
So much.
Yeah, we do. We tend to pick people up, like, after each show, people will come up that we haven't met before, and they're like, oh my god, that reminds me of when this happened, or because it is so personal, and there's one moment in the show that specifically, like, we're completely not in character at all, and we each tell a first kiss story, and so I think that's something that sets the tone up, that people really feel like they know us, so they'll come up after and they're like, oh my god, you have to listen to this crazy thing that my brother did with his girlfriend, it's crazy, and we're just like, oh wow, like, I love hearing those stories, but people feel very open to, like, have a back and forth with us after the show, which is neat.
It's so nice to hear people and to hear their feedback and to hear how it affected them, and it's nice too, because there are some songs or some moments of the show where like, it can get a little, the ideas, like, things that have happened to me where I felt, oh my gosh, I'm like real life things where I'm like, oh, I'm too crazy, I'm like too jealous about something, or I've lurked something and found something and then made a song about it and showed other people, and they've been like, I've done the same thing. And so I'm really like, okay, maybe I'm not so crazy, maybe this is just like a universal thing that everyone is just trying to figure out. So
it's so funny as we were writing, like, because this show has gone through a transformation from the shorter version to the longer version, that the more specific, I remember before we even started writing the little one, I was thinking, but this is just me, like, no one cares, like, this doesn't matter, but as you go through, you realize the more specific and personal you are, the more it strikes a chord with other people, which for me as a writer, that was like, whoa, what a big moment.